Have you ever wondered what games you should keep or you should lose? Find out here at Purge Reviews.
So I have to admit I'm a little bit of a sucker for an IP game, even if it's an IP I'm not totally aware of. So I saw this movie, but I didn't read the comics. I'm not very familiar with the IP at all, to be honest. I saw both movies, actually. But I'm a sucker for IP, and I'm a sucker for CMON games. I like what they put out. I like the games that they have, and they usually do really good miniatures. This is not what I thought I was getting into. Let me be honest. I thought it was going to be another Zombicide miniatures type game. That is not the case here. This is more in line with the old Marvel Heroes game from Fantasy Flight, if you remember that or not. This is really a worker placement game for all intents and purposes. And it plays a little bit like Pandemic, where you don't want everything to kind of come into the center. You're trying to hold off the hordes at the same time accomplishing missions. So yeah, you'll get your gear, and you'll be able to roll your dice, and you upgrade your characters quite a bit, actually, in this game. There's a lot of an RPG kind of thing to it, but it's strictly a Euro game. And I was a little surprised with that. I expected this IP to go into a slash, but let me tell you something. I am satisfied with this game. This is a very, very, very fun game, and I like it quite a bit. As somebody who plays both Euro and Ameritrash games, and I feel like the Ameritrash games are kind of looked down on, and I don't feel like the hybrid games are all that strong. This is one that is very strong. I like this game quite a bit, and it can definitely be played solo. I play this game solo with just running multiple characters, but it's really, really fun. And you have all types of different bosses that will come out, and they kind of shake things up, the different events that you're going to be taking care of. Tracking your characters. Do I upgrade my character a lot? And you really need to upgrade your character. You need to let a little chaos happen, okay? And this is a little bit of a spoiler alert in the game. You gotta let some chaos. If you just go right after things, you're not gonna build your character up enough. And you're gonna regret that at the end game, right? In the middle point of the game. So you need to let some of these things just happen. And that's the big thing I understand with this IP, is there's a divide, almost like Spider-Man, with superhero and personal life. And you can't let one become more important than the other. And that really plays out in this game, and I feel like it brings the IP to life. So this game has fantastic miniatures, fantastic gameplay, very difficult and interesting decisions. There is some luck in it, so you're going to be hosed by that, but you can also mitigate that by your upgrades that you're able to get, which is fantastic. And I just feel like this game works. They give you a lot of gameplay in this box. And I'm surprised at this game. Just, you never hear about it. And even with CMON, they don't really promote this game. And I feel like this is a very, very, very strong game. And nobody says a word about it. I don't know if it's the IP or it just wasn't what they were looking for. But this is a hidden gem. And what I'm going to tell you, that even if you don't want to run out and buy it, to at least think about it or try this game. Don't write it off even if you don't like the IP. If you don't like the IP, you can still get in this game. It's really, really, really fun. And I like it quite a bit. And I highly, highly recommend it. This was a total winner for me. So the components, you can see, it's going to have some language on the front. It's going to have some blood with some children on it. It's going to be up to your taste. It's a very nice box, actually. You can see a lot of the characters on the side. It's very nice. So when I open up, I got everything bagged up. You're going to have cardboard tokens for money, which look really good. These chits are very, very thick, very nice. If you don't have yours painted up, you can use these rings if you so choose. Everything in here is very, very nice cardboard. The only thing I got to say is these little chits right here are a little small. They're okay. They fit nicely on the board, but they are a little bit tiny. If you could get some upgrades for that, you might like that. Trackers are nice cardboard that you can have here. You can see this is for the different number of players that you're going to have. Now these are humongous. They're big. These are going to be table hogs, but man, are they nice. Like, you put your cards here. You have your little stats. The little circles go right on here. Like I said, they're a little small, but everything you need is right here. They're double-sided with the picture on the other side. A little flimsy, but they're not cardboard. They're just going to sit on the table for you. So I'll just go through here and show you the different characters that you're going to get. They all have different attributes and ways and powers and stuff with them. There's Dr. Gravity. Each one's going to have a different color. There's your main star there. I remember Jim Carrey playing this guy in the movie, I believe. Everybody's going to have a different starting position and information that you have. Big Daddy's one of my favorite ones to play with. And then you're going to have some female representation. And you can see the back of that pretty nicely. You also get a rule book, which we'll take a look at in a few minutes. And you're going to get a board. And this board really reminds me of an old FFG game called Marvel Heroes. I don't know why. Just kind of the look of it. You're going to have the round, which you're doing up here. the different events coming out, and the little spaces. It's a worker placement game for the most part, but we're going to be doing with some combat. What's also nice down here is the round summary. Everything you need is down there that you can see. Most of this is just kind of for flavor. It gets out of the way. The information you need kind of bounces off that, so it's really nice. And it kind of just folds up like this into sixes rather, and folds up. So very, very nice. And then once you get in here, you're going to have the different dice. You're going to have the event cards and stuff. You can fit your cards just right in here. These are fairly nice. And then you're going to have the little boss cards that you'll have and the item cards that will be in here. These are a little bit smaller, but you need them because they're going to fit right here on your thing. The event cards are tarot-sized cards. They're really nice. And you can see they kind of pull out like this. So everything fits in here nicely. You're going to have a ton of miniatures in here. You're going to have 2 rows. So you're going to have this, and you're going to have some underneath through here. I did do an unboxing of this, so I'm not going to show you all of the miniatures in this one. If you want to see every single miniature, I've done that in the unboxing video, which I'll link at the end of this video if you want to see it. Here's a rule book. You can see it's a different picture than the front of the box, which is nice. It's going to be told in like this comic fashion, if you will. So you have a comic that kind of explains it, an index, and an overview here. There's a picture of all of the components in the game. I love this. 2 pages spread out. Very, very good. Now, this is important because the basic concept is going to break down the board for you and break down the hero dashboard, which is going to be really nice. Then you're going to see what about the cards will do, and a picture of setup with all the little text here to get you moving. You're going to have some solo play set up if you want to play this way. Some gameplay that will come through here and kind of explain. Then you're going to jump back into the comic strip. You know, it's kind of weird how this works, but I like it quite a bit. Activating the cards and the gameplay. Then you're going to see a little bit more of the story that's going on that's going to set up everything. So you don't just read like the text of how to set it up. It will give you the story background. Some examples that you see here with full color pictures, which is appreciated. And then a little bit more of the sleep phase and the refresh phase that'll be down there. And then how to do the final bosses. And you can see that the story continues throughout. Here's a reference guide if you want to know what some of the tokens do, etc. The boss's final plots. Each boss is going to work a little bit differently, which will set you up through here, which is really nice to have. And then at the end, you will just have the storyline that's going on, which will be finalized here, and then the round summary that you can refer to in the game. This will kind of be your player aid, if you will. So I'm not going to explain the whole game to you. I'm just going to go over some general concepts and kind of show you the flow of the game and how it works. As you receive items in the game, you'll be able to put the items on the board over here. This will be your equipment and kind of what you can hold. Here's your 2 hands. Here is armor, and here is hands. So this also has a briefcase on it, so you can just go in your briefcase if need be. If it takes 2 hands, it will be put over here. So like you could have one thing, a night vision, to go over your helmet. You could have, say, a pistol in your hand. And you can see that the cards will have pictures of where they would go. So maybe you have some sticks like that, and then maybe you want some armor. So that would be a fully filled up person. If you want to add anything to that, you'd have to get rid of something else. In addition, you might have an item that would require both of your hands. Then there's a little spot right here. You can see it's a little different color. You would just put it right there, and that would be that. So when you're getting items, you just pay the cost in the top right, and there's a little icon here that will tell you what it would do. So in this case, you would flip this card, and you would get 5 red dice to use the bazooka. Whenever you're getting defensive, you can get 2 additional blue die, and etc. So the equipment is designed to help you. You can see the little briefcase, anything with a satchel can be put off to the side for use later. Now, up in the top right will tell you on the board where they will start and what their starting attributes are. 3 money, he will start out with 7 smiles, 1 workout, 2 thumbs up, etc., and 6 hearts. So the way this is going to work, this is going to be your life track. So we'd be tracking your health, your likes. As you move up, you know, here he's going to get a bonus of -1 when he shops, all the way up to here where he'll get $1 every time he moves up. So everybody's going to play a little bit differently. You can see here on Dr. Gravity, you know, his things are a little bit different up here in the power kind of spot of it. And as you come down in your happiness, because these guys, it's very different that they're superheroes that just don't want to fight all the time. They want to have a social life. But every time you cross one of these barriers, you will get a hardship card. And these hardship cards will actually be negative. So let's say you get addicted to drugs, you will lose a blue die every time you roll. Now, if you go up, this will be turned to over, so it no longer affects you. And if you get down to the bottom, you might have 2 of these. Let's say you're also lazy. so your movement will be even slower. So that's kind of how this works. You're going to keep track of everything on here with little tiles, and everybody will have one of these. These are kind of large. You're going to need a larger table for this, but that's how the player will work. So the first thing you do is, based on the number of players, you're going to be putting this here. It could be flipped over if you were only playing with 3. This is going to give you a little bit of how the bad guys are coming out. So this is going to change for each person. Your rounds will be tracked up here and your event cards over there. Otherwise, these are going to be the spots that you'll be utilizing for the worker placement part of the game. Now, when the heroes move around the board, they can just be put anywhere in the location. They do not take up the circular area. So if you're in the city hall, you just kind of be placed there, or just anywhere to signify that you're in there. Now, as the bad guys come out, they will be refilling these spots over here, and they will be taking up the circles. And that's important because if the circles ever fill up, things are going to happen. Think about Pandemic or other area games like that. And you can see the arrows on the board will point if they become full where they go. You don't want City Hall to be filled. If City Hall burst or bust, then you will lose the game. Once again, I just want to state that I don't want to explain all the rules in the game. Instead, I just want to show you a little bit about how the game works. Now, these event cards you'll see numbers. These are going to be based on the number of people that are playing. So let's say you're playing a 2-player game. Just for argument's sake, you would take the 2-player ones out, and you would have your deck of event cards set up right there. Now, events are going to be the first thing that you do each round. What will happen is the first event card will come out. You can kind of read it to everybody. Got to gather some money. From now on, place every dollar you gain on this card. And this represents the cost of living increases in Manhattan. That's a little flavor text. You want to gather 10 on this card. You divide the money on this card between any heroes that you wish, or everybody loses 3 heroes if you do not accomplish it by the time it comes off the board. So this will come kind of on the first round, and you have to try to gather 10 before it's pushed off. So in round 2, that will move down and come off. If it ever pushes off the end, and you have not accomplished what it requires, you in this case gather 10 coins, then the red would happen, which will be a negative effect. So these are things that you want to kind of put your time on. Now, some of these you'll probably want to burn. You may not want to accomplish it, but that's not too bad. Everybody losing $3. We can deal with that. So it's just kind of a planning thing of when you want to focus on that and when you want to focus on the board. The next thing will happen is you'll spawn one of these spawn cards, and you'll do this once. So if you have this little symbol right here at the top, that means you'll move up on this track. And what this track is going to tell you is how many minions will come out each round. So as it gets more dangerous, you can see 7 would come out. But if you can keep this tracker down on this end, only 3 might come out, or 4. So this can be a big thing. It's kind of like a timer in the game. As these cards come out, you can work to reduce that, but it takes time and actions that you'll have. And then you just kind of spawn. So this will be a basic spawn. It will tell you in the police department, if that's full, then the shop, then the hospital, and you'd go around. So let's say you're putting 3 out, you put 1 out in the police department, 1 in the shop, and 1 in the hospital. If you're putting 5 out, 1 in the police department, shop, hospital, go back to the top, police department, and the shop. So that's kind of how that will work, and that will put these bad guys out on the board. So if I were putting these 2 out, I would put 1 in the police department down here, and I would put 1 in the shop. When it's time for the players to take a turn, they will play cards from their hand to do certain activations. So give you movement, take away like, but you will get $4 for doing the hard work. You can have a good part-time job where you get 2 movement, an activation, and $1. So you just use these cards, and some of these cards will be combat. So you get a movement, a POW, lose some happiness for being in the fight, and you get some rerolls that you could do there. A POW, which will be a fight action, lose a happiness, and get a extra die for his girlfriend's hero. So these cards are what you'll play to do activations on the board. So you always have blue cards, which will be your everyday life, part-time jobs, heavy work, Maya, getting information. You'll have red cards that are always the fighting, the superhero stuff you're doing. And then you will have, in addition, some green cards that will be special cards based on the actual characters of what you're doing. And you'll be able to generate these cards as the game goes on. Whenever you see this with a person walking, this will be movement points. This will be kind of how you walk around the board. You don't have to worry about the arrows, but you do have to have bridges. So you can't go from Wall Street to the police department. I would have to go through the library, across the bridge, and then these are adjacent so I could go there. That's how movement will work. Now the little stopwatch or whatever you have, this little icon right here, will be when you're in a location, you can activate one of these spots. So the police department, you pay $3 and you can wipe out an area. You can take an action here. You get either happiness or you can get a muscle. And then you would just move up on these tracks on the board. You want to do the workout because it will give you additional dice or happiness. And the happiness will keep you from going into the hardship. This one, you lose a happiness, but you get $3 for working. This one, you can flip over the tile. This one allows you to buy items. You'll be able to get, that's how you're able to get more of the weapons and etc. So you have these weapons, or these items that will be on the board, and you can purchase them when you go there. And then if you're in a location with a bad guy, you can always spend a POW to do a combat action and try to take these guys out. Now, anytime you're in a location and it's completely full of bad guys and you're able to take everybody off and you're able to clean it out, it's called a cleanup, and you will get a bonus. So if you were here and there were 2 guys here, and you completely wipe it out where there's nobody else, you would get an extra $1. Here you would get a thumbs up. There you would get a happiness. You get to flip this tile over. You get an item cheaper, you get an extra heart, you can get health, you can clean up a location. So every place is going to be different. So you want to get these things kind of full up and be able to wipe them out all at one time to get the bonus. Now each of these locations are also going to have a number of minions that can be there. If you're ever to put a minion in a location and there isn't enough room, then you follow the areas. You follow the arrows into the different area. Once again, everything is going to lead to City Hall, because if City Hall is ever full and you can't place anybody there, you would lose the game. Now, when you fight people, you're going to be rolling dice, and each of these dice will have hits or miss or lightnings on them. So when you attack somebody with those POW cards, you're going to generate a number of these, and you will roll them, and you will be able to do hits and lightnings based on what you're able to roll. The opposing party will be rolling these blue dice, which will give them defense and lightnings. You can see those little shock signs, or misses. They'll be able to block the hits that are coming. And to do the hits is very easy. The hits minus blocks will give you how many hits it occurs. So if I have 1 hit and no blocks, I would do 1 damage. If it was 1 hit and 1 block, I would do no damage. If you're ever in a situation where 2 heroes are in the same spot, they can gang up on the gangs there, each roll their dice individually and use them to fight all these bad guys at one time. It's a really good way to kind of gang up and fight and utilize the service of 2 enemies while you're there. It's a great technique. So once everybody takes 3 actions, that's 3, you do morning, afternoon, and evening, then you go to the night phase. You'll see if anything triggers off the night. You'll see sometimes that there'll be cards with like a crescent moon, as you see here, that will occur in the sleep phase. So anything that would activate at that point, you would then activate during the night phase. And then you just refresh the board and you start over. Now, once 3 events are defeated, then you would turn over what's called the final plot, and you will have that for whatever bad guy that you're playing. You go over the final plot and you would do what it says, and then if you defeat the final plot, you win, and you would meet the winning conditions of the round. The players will lose. If City Hall's, you're trying to spawn somebody here, so the 7th person would go here, and everything is full, then you would lose the game. Or if it becomes impossible through circumstance to complete 3 events, or the final plot is not defeated by the 9th round. So then you would just automatically lose, and the game would be over. So there is a timer to the game as you're progressing. So that's a general overview of the game. There are different events that will come out. There are different bad guys with different plots at the end that you'll be fighting against. So each one of these are going to do something a little bit different and change. So when the plot comes out, it will be very different about how they react. For the most part in the game, and there's a little bit more rules in here than I explained. I wanted to keep it simple just to give you a flow. You're going to pull over an event that may have an immediate effect or an effect that's ongoing, or it may just have a negative if you don't complete it by a certain point, or positive if you do. Then you will pull out a spawn card and you will spawn the bad guys, and you put these little minions on the board. Sometimes it might be a super minion or whatever, but things that you have to deal with on the board so you don't get overran. And then you will play cards to activate your heroes, either to take actions to generate more abilities, money, or to fight the bad guys. Then there'll be a sleep phase where things might activate, may or may not, and then you'll refresh the board. You have 9 rounds to defeat 3 events plus the final plot. If City Hall is ever full, or 9 rounds is up, or you cannot accomplish 3 through circumstances, then the game would be over and you would lose the game. So it's a cooperative game where the players are playing together against the bad guys. Who should buy this game? Fans of the IP, without question. this is the game for the IP that it's going to blow your mind, that you're going to really like. Now, if you're not a gamer, probably not as much, but for you gamers who like this IP, it doesn't get much better than that. Sure, you could have another dudes on the map rolling dice and moving, but this is an actual game that you're getting. This is really, really, really good. And if you don't like the IP, this is a very strong game here. I think that this is a very, very, very fun game. It almost reminds me of Blood Rage a little bit, but let me explain. Blood Rage is you think that you're getting Vikings on a map fighting, and there isn't that in the game. But the game is really about card drafting and how you're going to play your cards and what you're best going to do with your limited resources, right? And I think that's where Blood Rage shines. This game works exactly the same way. Yes, it gives you the miniatures. Yes, it gives you the combat. Yes, it gives you the story. And it really does. But it also gives you a very strong base of a worker placement game about moving around. How are you going to utilize the different actions? Can you reset action? How are you going to set up next move? Fantastic. So if you're looking for a strong game that you may have missed, this is it, my friends. Check it out. Absolute keeper for me. This will be in my collection for a very long time. And I am lukewarm on the IP. Let me just say that. Lukewarm. I like it. It's fine. But it isn't something that I'm crazy about either. So it has that going for it. Keeper. Thanks for watching the video. I really appreciate you tuning in. If you liked it, please like it and hit that little subscribe button. That really helps out the channel. Lets us know that you're getting the videos that you want. If you agreed or disagree with what I said, feel free to comment below. I'd love to hear what you have to say, and I promise that I will comment back. Thanks for watching, and everybody else, keep playing.